And we're back here again. You know what I'm saying? You're watching DaveBeyondTV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And we jumping right in. You know how it is. Talk about the moon in Scorpio, sun in Gemini, and then we also have a shift of Venus and Mercury going into Cancer. So Venus and Mercury got into Cancer yesterday. So the title of the video or of the live stream is a thought-provoking emotional shift. So when you think about this energy, right, with the sun in Gemini, conversations, you know, wanting to talk things out, all that fun-loving energy, you know what I'm saying, being curious about this and being willing to kind of just say whatever's on your mind and all that stuff, all of that energy is going to low-key get curved right here in with the moon in Scorpio. Now, the thing about the moon in Scorpio, the moon represents what we're reacting and responding to. So we know that, okay, so what was once open communication and able to kind of be free flowing is now being kind of like we having somewhat second thoughts. Like you'll probably go through some kind of experience that'll make you say, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't say everything that's on my mind. Maybe I should sit back and think a little bit more about who I'm communicating with before I just jump into any kind of old conversation with this person or that person that I might have felt comfortable before. See, before you wasn't probably thinking so much about who you was talking to and what y'all was talking about, but now more than ever, it matters. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't see that it matters, see, the difference is whether or not you planting the good seeds. If you plant the good seeds, the people around you that you're communicating with are going to be almost extensions of you. So when you open up to them and you become vulnerable, there is it's going to be well received, or received in a way in which you don't have to feel as though a person is going to flip information on you and take advantage. If you planted the wrong seeds, this is you not really see what planting good seeds look like in Gemini season is having open communication, being willing to, you know, it's like mutable communication. So first of all, it's about opening up your mouth in general and being able to communicate and convey ideas, right? If you wasn't taking advantage of that energy doing that previously, at this point in time, you're not going to necessarily have people around you that reflect parts of your mind that you can call familiar. You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about the third house and what Gemini energy represents as a whole, it's like familiarity. But in order to be familiar with something, you have to communicate, because if you didn't know, right? See, there's a reason why even the sequence between Gemini and Cancer, it's like if you didn't create rapport with another individual based upon you opening up your mouth and explaining and communicating, conveying your ideas and your perspective, no one is really going to have a place in their heart for you, because they're not going to know you. They're not going to feel connected to you. And that's the thing about water. And we're shifting into a water energy. You know what I'm saying? We're shifting into a water energy where it's going to be very important for, first of all, your feelings to be in check, but also connections with other individuals that you can deem respectable. It's like, you know, say, so if you didn't put in the work initially to communicate and connect, like if you didn't communicate, it's going to be harder for you to connect and for others to connect with you. So you're not really going to have enough space, or, you know, like I said before, like rapport, that's a good word to use just in general, where people not really going to know where your heart is. People not going to really know where your mind at. So by default, you're going to find yourself in situations in which you might feel extra alone or extra insecure or uncomfortable around the individuals next to you. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying before, it's like you have to build that familiarity with another individual in order for you to get to a space where you're comfortable around them. If people not comfortable around you, they're not going to trust you in those ways that water needs trust. And that's the whole thing about air and water and their connection. A lot of the air and water alignment issues come from lack of trust. The water sign has a hard time connecting to the air sign because, again, like that air energy sometimes can be too communicative and can make the water energy feel uncomfortable because there's like many different faces to it. But what happens with the water sign, they don't open up enough for themselves to be clear and understood for the air sign. So this creates an issue on that level too, where it's like, damn, now the air sign can't even feel like the water sign is worth connecting or getting to know, just simply because it's like, I don't, you know what I'm saying, if the water sign not opening up and communicating, how, you know, how is anybody going to get to know them? You know what I'm saying? But water signs are very sacred about their ability to, you know what I'm saying, like who they gonna connect with. And sometimes that can be the downfall of water signs. They don't allow other people to get to know them because they're too concerned about feelings and being vulnerable and things like that. And see, we all got to accept the fact that we're going into a vulnerable time. So everybody, shout out Jackie New, and shout out to the other people, man. You know, I see Tonio and Micro Cam. What up? Y'all don't have profile pictures, so I don't know who y'all are. And y'all new. So shout out to y'all, you know what I'm saying? Welcome to the channel. Hopefully y'all not on some bullshit. But for the most part, you know, that's the thing right now. We're going into a vulnerable time. So it's like we have to, first of all, be comfortable with ourselves. And see, if you wasn't exercising your ability to communicate during Gemini season, you might have missed out on opportunities to get comfortable with who you are enough to feel like comfortable in your own skin. Again, that took you going through experiences, communicating, having things, because that was one of the main things I was saying before with the square that the sun was making to Saturn and Pisces. It was like we needed to be able to open ourselves up for debate. So different dreams and ideas you might have had and senses of reality that you thought made sense and things like that, you needed to be communicating these things so they can be put to the test. So other people, and that's that square. It's a learning process. We had to learn what it meant to communicate our dreams and ideas and get a feel for reality, so that now in this transition, we can feel more confident and comfortable with what it is that we have to say, what we want to convey as an idea or message to the world. So that's the difference between whether you plant a good season, Gemini season, or not. Now we at 28 degrees, I believe, no, 27 degrees. So we're dealing with that transition. Shout out to Big Zev. He said, love the convo. Can you say happy birthday to my cousin? Hey, no, you know what I'm saying? I seen that trick. I seen that trick face ass, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, saying you can't trick me. But that's the main thing right now. You know, it's like when it comes to this Gemini energy and the transition. Shout out to Kiera Jalen Powell. You said it's my birthday. Thanks for the message today. Hey, shout out to you. Yo, a real birthday. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to your star day. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Real shit. So when it comes to let's get into the moon and Scorpio energy and that whole situation. So the moon in Scorpio is kind of the first instance in which that Gemini energy is probably going to get hit with something. And this is like you getting hit with something that make you second question, maybe opening yourself up to communicate. So like I said before, all that energy previously is like, you should have been building up. You should have already been communicating. If you try to communicate now, there's chances for misunderstandings, AKA the moon in Scorpio react like, and even a moon and Scorpio individual, it's like at the core, Scorpio energy is all that behind the scenes energy. You know what I'm saying? All that behind closed doors energy. Sometimes it can get a little extra and extreme when it comes to things that not everybody is willing to talk about, like taboo subjects and stuff like that. Not everybody is necessarily willing to go that deep. Now, when you put that energy into Gemini, you get a lot of communicating about inappropriate type things, you know what I'm saying? Conversations, even giving too much information, being too open with what you're saying, being too open about your personal life, basically. And this is going to open the door for you to potentially feel vulnerable in ways you don't really want to feel vulnerable, like more exposed feeling type energy when the energy shifts and we go into Cancer season. This could be leading up to that, where something you said, you shared the wrong information with the wrong individual. That all of this is based upon you not having proper communication skills during Gemini season. So you didn't surround yourself around people that you feel familiar with and they're familiar with you. Because see, think about it like this. If people know you to talk about certain taboo subjects, they're a lot more lenient, understanding, and connected to you than, say, people who don't really know you. Then you come around them just kind of saying with anything, and then you kind of throw people off. You rub people the wrong way, where they're like, damn, I'm never going to probably kick it with this individual. Or they run and tell your business in ways that it's like, damn, I didn't think that this little piece of information could circulate in a way that can kind of hurt me. You said, shit, my solar return say I got Gemini stellium in the 8th for this year. I got to be careful. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And see what it is too is like we ain't got to be too afraid about it, you know. And I know you're not even saying it in that degree, Jackie, but we do have to just be aware of what it is we even talking about. Like, what is this conversation about? See, the big thing right now, majority of the world is going to be heavily invested into gossip and like deceitful energy. So right now, the difference between those who's kind of going to set themselves up for a better experience moving forward into the summertime is those who are truthful. You got to be really truthful at the moment. You got to be very honest and make sure whatever you're speaking on, whatever you're choosing to entertain and be aware of is pertaining to your truth. You know what I'm saying? And that leaves the door open to be subjective, because it's like your truth is different than anybody else's truth. It's not a matter of right or wrong. If you want to gossip, then, you know, that's your business. But the whole thing is what you're saying, is it worth something? Is it truthful? Is it something that doesn't hold, like, because think about it like this, right? If you an individual who invests in mindless gossip, these be the type of people who manifest situations in themselves or in their life that look like everything they was talking shit about. It just come in a different way. It come in a different angle. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily karma, but it's how the world, it's how the universe kind of work. It's like you are putting a certain energy frequency out into the world, a vibration into the world that's not true. You know what I'm saying? You taking information you heard about this person, that person, instead of doing what we are supposed to do, which is giving a fuck about ourselves and telling the truth about who we are. You two invested. And see, the whole world is the way social media is and stuff like that, it's got the whole world in a certain mind frame that is kind of low-key detrimental to everyone's spiritual progress, based upon everybody being heavily invested into everybody else's business. You go on Twitter, the first thing you reading when you wake up at the top of the day is what's on everybody else's mind. And 98% of those motherfuckers are bots. So they're only regurgitating information that's being circulated that they want your mind on. And when I say they, y'all should know who I'm talking about. But for the new people who don't know who I'm talking about the people who run the world, the individuals, the spirits who set things up in life to be the way it is, where we spend so much of our day, time, energy, attention on stuff that isn't pertained to who we are as individuals. It's always a distraction type energy. It's always something making you care about what's going on in politics. You know what I'm saying? And you still might be an individual who's invested in politics, but, you know, hey, that's kind of low-key a conversation for a different day. But remember, it's election season. So, and we're going into Cancer season. So or going into July, right? We in June right now, but when we get into July, y'all know that's when things start to kick in. And there's already been seeds planted to get people's minds on certain things. You know what I'm saying? Xavier the artist, she said, Xavier may control meets. Oh, okay. That's your whole name. Goddamn. Fire. Shout out to you though. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, what the fuck? I thought that was part of the message, but shout out to you, bro. Welcome in. So, and speaking of that, you know, there was a bill passed. There's a lot of talks about war and stuff like that going on in China, and how, you know, people between the ages of, I think it's 18 and 26 are going to be automatically put in a draft. Is it still live? Y'all still here? This shit said it was too hot. I tried to sit it on my window. Live. All right, bet. All right, cool. So, too damn hot. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, that's the whole thing right now. So it's like when we think about what's going on in terms of that, like there's a lot of fearmonger energy. They're trying to conjure up fear in people's hearts. You know what I'm saying? They got the young generation, and think about it. Like right now, see, Generation Z, y'all high key got a very important role coming up, because y'all gonna be the initiators of a whole new, like a lot of what's changing right now. See, the thing about my generation, right, because I was born in 95, I'm part of like technically the millennial, right? They'll say it's 94 and shit like that, but for the most part, our generation, right, the millennial generation, really we are in position now to really set the tone. But it's the Gen Z, the people coming right after us, that are going to be the actual role players to carry out a lot of the heavy lifting and movement of a new shift, to bring in a whole new way to see the world. So, and I say that because a lot of y'all are the ones carrying Saturn, Aries energy. Neptune finna go into Aries. There's going to be a lot of activity right there around which y'all building reality, basically, with Saturn in Aries, and then Neptune moving into Aries, and then we got energies like Uranus and Taurus shifting into Gemini eventually, and then we already got Jupiter in Gemini. So it's almost like y'all role, even dealing with the Jupiter Gemini energy, is to kind of be the spokespeople for the change. Like y'all kind of got to represent the most of Gen Z. And see, the thing about Gen Z right now, a lot of y'all aren't being taken seriously because of the streaming, like the streaming energy, you know what I'm saying, like all the live streams, and like the new cats coming up, like, you know, the Kai Cenat channels, and the these different individuals who, from the outside looking in, see, as millennials, we got to kind of keep in mind a lot of what the shadow government's trick is to convince older generations to turn their backs on younger generations based upon either jealousy, envy type energy, where it's like, we might have to take a regular job as a millennial. Right now, we was in that age where we could get on YouTube and do shit, but we really see the Gen Z, these young kids becoming millionaires just based upon going live on a game system or something like that. So it's like, but it's the same thing like in older generations that came before us, where they was looking at us like, y'all lazy, y'all don't want to get jobs, and so they give us a certain energy in which they're not actually helping us. They give us the energy of turning their back and kind of being like, man, y'all should just figure it out. And they don't realize that's just a response to how they was treated. So what happens is you get an extreme rebellious energy, but in that rebellion, we lose sight of what the actual goal is. You know, it's more separation energy. So they separate people and individuals based upon generations too, not just race and not just gender. This shit getting hit from all angles. So we have a responsibility to set the younger generation up as well. If you're an older individual, you need to really be mindful in taking initiative on trying to lay some form of a foundation, offer opportunities for younger generations to get on too. And then you got to think even for your kids, you know what I'm saying? Because think about it like this: if you set a younger generation individual up, they could be in a position to hire your child when they're ready to get, you know, in the game and get involved with things like that. And see, that kind of leads to a bigger idea of community in that Pluto and Aquarius energy, and what really needs to be put in place for that to move smoothly. So we can't forget about that. We cannot forget about that. And this whole transit is going to be a bit of a challenge, because what we're going to experience is the sun in Cancer being opposite a lot of this Pluto energy. So a lot of what we're going to see is things that we are going to have to step up and provide balance for. So, you know what I'm saying? And that's going to be things pertaining to what needs to transform, both on a personal level, right? You're going to see a lot of ways in which you as an individual need to transform yourself, right, in order for you to be more suitable and valuable in a team or community like setting, right? So there's going to be certain emotional hurdles you're going to have to get over. You're going to have to heal yourself in certain ways. Shout out to Free, I see you. Hey, you know what I'm saying, just slid through, or probably been here just chilling. But you know, for the most part, it's going to be important for us to be able to change and modify our emotional response to a lot of things, get comfortable with a lot of this new energy, and be able to still see things as clear as we can. Now, as clear as possible, you know what I'm saying? Because that emotional energy, Cancer energy, can be just as much of a distraction, because what's going to hit you is all those insecurities and old ways of responding to certain old stimuli. And see, the new stimuli is going to feel like old stimuli. So old triggers and old things that you're going to be confronted with, that's like, hey, have you actually resolved these things? And see, Pluto is still retrograde. So it's going to be energies that we're going to have to revisit to transform it. You know what I'm saying? And this is going to be the final transformations that we need to take for when Pluto then goes direct later on in the year. And then it's going to be like, okay, now everything that we was trying to set in stone when it comes to this new way of kind of associating with other individuals and our ability to kind of have resources around us from other unique perspectives, that's going to be determined, your access to that is going to be determined on what you chose to heal and what you chose to kind of switch up and transform during this period of time, during this whole year, for real. But like I was saying before, Gen Z, y'all really got a big role to play. But right now it can kind of be confusing, because see, we was rebellious millennials, but they on that 10 times, you know what I'm saying? They kind of on the extreme. So what we don't want to happen is another repeat cycle of us trying to fight them trying to fight us, and in the process we lose progress on changing the world, you know what I'm saying, coming together in a way in which we can be effective and we can represent and show a whole new way of going about life that isn't so heavily reliant on old outdated systems, or systems created by individuals who really don't give a fuck about you and me. So that's kind of what we all have to have our mind on. It's like the bigger picture, because a lot of these small frustrations, and see, that's the Cancer energy in general, and see, it's a reason why a lot of these announcements and stuff like that come around during Gemini and Cancer. Gemini, it has a lot of information being thrown at you at a fast rate, and you don't realize what's getting thrown at you until you start to feel and care about it and see things come completely, you know, things being thrown at you, concepts, like I said, all the things we see on the news being constantly put in your face. By the time Cancer season rolls around, you feel some type of way about it, even if you don't necessarily care about it, or you don't you're not aware of it. That's really what I meant to say. Even if you're not fully aware of it, you start to low-key care about it, even if your response to it is that, man, they need to shut up, or I'm tired of hearing about this. But they try to get you affected. The point is to make you feel something. It's not necessarily to make you feel this way or that way. They just want you affected, because once you're affected, you feel some way, and that right there is the energy that they prey on, basically, is you feeling any kind of way about it, because then they can flip any kind of narrative, and they know they got you, they know they got some kind of response from you. So, and then you're engaged in it, and your participation in it, a lot of people will say, well, I just want to be you know, like for instance, a good example of that is like protesters. You don't realize you're helping the cause too. You're a form of free publicity for whatever idea they're trying to push, or narrative they're trying to push in the world. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Hanged Empress. You know what I'm saying? You're just as much of a pawn as as a politician themselves. You know what I'm saying? You just as much as a key player in that, by being like, oh, I'm gonna go protest, I'm gonna go say that. That's right. Free said, paying them attention. You know, and again, by the time we get to Leo season, you got to remember, they're playing a game of controlling y'all minds, but you as an individual are supposed to be living your life to control your own path. So that's where the mix-up comes. We be looking at what's going on in the world and think that it has some kind of importance on us. A lot of people create their whole identities on what kind of political side that they choosing. People create their whole identities around global warming, these problems and stuff like that. That's really not your problem to begin with. The world, like, even on the topic of global warming, like, I get it, you want to give a fuck about the environment, but this motherfucker been alive way longer than you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you again, if you've been here for years and years, eons and eons, I get it. Spiritually, you keep coming back and stuff like that. But the planet is going to take care of itself. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't just litter and shit like that and make it trashy around your area, just as an individual, you know what I'm saying, being real with yourself. Like, if you treat your area like trash, it's going to look like trash. But the point is, this shit is moving on a rate. You can't control that. You can't control what the planet do. You know what I'm saying? So it got you, it's like, that's how people, that they set people up on missions. Because if you understand what it even means to be a person fighting for global warming, you realize it's really just, from their perspective, policies that they're trying to put in place, and a distraction from you giving a fuck about things you actually supposed to care about, like what's going on with you in your mind, and being able to take the initiative to create change in your area, in your local park, or your local city, or whatever. So don't get caught up in the distraction, because that's all it is. Gemini energy, you could look at that as just distraction season. You know what I'm saying? She said, hang the percent sensationalizing common sense. Exactly. You take common sense, which should just be normal reactions to life, and they hype it up and create a narrative around it. And that's how they get all of y'all wrapped up in some bullshit that you ain't supposed to be even thinking about. You know what I'm saying? God don't need you. Like, God didn't create the planet for you to necessarily, like, anyway, you know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying? So let's move on. So when it comes to this energy going on right now, so even Venus, let's talk about Venus going into Cancer. And I'm talking real fast because I gotta head to work in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I'm on a time crunch. But for the most part, let's talk about Venus and Mercury going into Cancer, right? So Venus going into Cancer, that's what we love, appreciate, and value. We need to put more value in into caring about things. We need to put more you know, value into we need to put more appreciation into the connections we have and what makes us feel comfortable. And this is another thing I was going to say about Cancer season 2. It represents the beginning of the summer. So like I was saying in previous lives, it's right now it's decision making time. We need to decide on what it is worth caring about. And that's kind of like, you know, what Venus and Cancer is. What is worth caring about? You have to ask yourself that, because Cancer is a cardinal energy. So that means there needs to be action on your part. There needs to be an initiation and a choice made in order for you to carry out what's necessary for that to actually manifest itself. It's not like a mutable energy where the whole idea is to kind of strap in and be along for the ride and kind of go with the flow a little bit and be a little more adaptive. See, that's what Gemini was. Gemini was us needing to adapt to what already is established, us needing to kind of move and learn the language of the land, the lay of the land, so that we can kind of blend in and we can start to take advantage of what's already going on around us. Fixated energy is focus. That's seasons that we need to stay still and we need to concentrate and we need to be very intentional about how we make moves, because we don't have the luxury of making a lot of fast switch ups. We have to choose something and stay honed in on it. That's what Taurus season was. Going into this next cardinal season, that's a shift. We need to make a decision and then make a conscious effort to put something into practice. So caring about stuff, what people don't realize, see, think about you in a relationship, and let's say your partner do something to piss you off. You have a choice to make. This is why love and things like that is really more of a choice than it is an emotion itself to just be admired and basking in. Love, that's why they say relationships and marriages work, because when instances happen in which you're triggered, they're triggered, and y'all going through some kind of issue, you have a choice to make to care about that individual beyond what might be on the surface as a current transition or shift. If you don't put practice into caring and extending yourself to care about an individual, and see, I'm not saying being foolish, I'm not saying be you know, I'm not saying stand up for, you know, not standing up for yourself and not being like you gotta, and see, I'm glad you said that. Shout out to Sunshine. You was like, that's real shadow work. And you said especially for Libras. And yeah, that's the nature of Libra energy. Is like really all cardinal energy on some form or fashion, initiation to choose to care about something, to choose to relate, to choose to communicate. Because when these things, when it becomes hard to do these things, this is where cardinal energy matters, because it takes you to put it into practice in order for it to manifest into a better situation. Like on the Cancer end, it deals with the emotional aspect. So it's being comfortable with something. Again, all through your life, you've been going through new experiences, right? A lot of people get brainwashed into thinking, like, you know what I'm saying, when you just want to be comfortable. So you stop going for certain goals because you don't want to step out your comfort zone. But that's what's necessary. And you forget that when you was younger, there was a lot of things that was outside of your comfort zone that you couldn't be in the position you in now until you chose to stand up and jump into that new space. So it's the same thing with everything in life, but people forget that and they get comfortable and complacent in whatever stage of life they in, forgetting that that's the whole nature of life in general. You have to keep putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to get comfortable. So that's an example of how on a Cancer end, initiation is needed. Going back to the example I was just saying with relationships, you have to choose, and see, it's not just relationships. Like, relationships is kind of all encompassing because we relate into everything. But when it comes to Libra energy specifically, the initiation of a new way to think, to be able to shift perspective, or to create a conversation about something that might not always be easy to do. And it takes that level of putting something into practice, or and really creating balance and harmony into something, to be creating understanding, to provide information for balance to be made. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of on the Libra end. And then on the Capricorn end, that's initiating practicality, to put restriction into practice. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who chose to go on a diet before, you know what I'm saying? It takes a certain level of discipline to stay consistent on a realistic way of going about something. And a lot of it looks like restriction. A lot of what Capricorn, that's all Capricorn really teaches. It's like you have to restrict certain things in order for that to be set in stone as a new foundation to continue to move forward. Same thing. And then with Aries, self, to initiate a new way to see and feel about things, to be able to know who you are. It takes you having to put that into practice every day, because all day, every day, we getting hit with different distractions that make you feel maybe less confident, or less capable of doing certain things, or less willing to be independent. It takes work, and it takes you to initiate and put into practice being an individual sometimes, because again, it's easy to go with the flow, and it's easy to choose something that somebody else already got laid out for you. But to be a true individual, it takes work and practice. So all cardinal energies, that's the role that they play in all of our lives. Because you got to remember too, you might not have these energies in your actual chart, but you still have these energies present. They just might not have a planet in that space. So you don't have as easily like access to it. You might not have as many experiences pertaining to that energy directly, but there's always an indirect influence that is teaching you, or needs and requires you to pay attention and utilize that energy for what it's worth. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what that's cardinal energy in a nutshell. Now going back into this Cancer energy, choosing to care about certain things, what's worth caring about. You have to put that on the front. You have to choose to take these things that, again, and a lot of times caring for something, that same thing might not care for you in the same way in that instant. And like I said, it's not about being a fool and getting taken advantage of, but it is about choosing for yourself what's worth caring for. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, a child might not always understand or appreciate you as a parent the way in which you care about that child on a whole different level. You gave birth to that child, but you're older and more aware, so your level of care comes in a certain way. That child might be ungrateful for something that you had to put your whole heart into. But again, that's part of Cancer energy. Even the mother energy, mothers go through so much sacrifice it takes to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? Y'all literally sacrifice y'all whole body and existence when y'all give birth and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but you all understand the level it takes to nurture something. You know what I'm saying? When that same thing might not even have the capacity to nurture you back in that instant. You know what I'm saying? Like, it goes real deep. So when it comes to this Cancer energy, we have to consider what we want to put into practice, to in a lot of ways sacrifice to care. You know what I'm saying? To care about certain things, to put our heart into certain things. And that takes a high level of vulnerability, which again, that's another example or in representation of the hard shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Sunshine. She said, real as fuck, I'm a mom. Yeah, real shit. You know, it's like we have to be able to in order to reach that level of vulnerability, we have to sacrifice what our ego protects. You know, our ego makes us feel safe. Our ego makes us feel like, you know, again, like if you operating off of ego, it's like, man, I don't give a fuck about nothing. That's that energy where you like, I don't care about nothing. I just care about me. I'm taking care of myself, making sure I'm good. Boom. That's a comfortable energy a lot of times, because it doesn't require you to kind of it doesn't require you to sacrifice yourself or anything of value to be able to kind of stand and operate. But what you miss out on is true connection, help when you really need it, things that actually matter. Like, you know, like I was saying, connections really matter. You know, when you are vulnerable, you allow space for other individuals to actually give you grace, to participate in what you got going on, to be present with you. If you prevent yourself from being vulnerable, you close yourself out on a lot of opportunities that really support and help you drive and make life worth living. You know what I'm saying? Make life meaningful and shit like that on a deep level, on a spiritual level. And a lot of people run around. Again, this world is the way they got it. It is a lot of warfare spiritually that makes everybody be in a mindset of clinging on to their ego for the sake of just feeling safe and comfortable. You know what I'm saying? When you get up and go to work and stuff like that, having to deal with so many different energies and people, it's like, damn, I can't even, you know, you can't really let your guard down all the time. You know what I'm saying? And then again, you be a fool to be vulnerable in every situation. You know, you going to work and you, let's say you a cashier, you dealing with so many different energies coming in and out the store. You be a fool to be living vulnerable in that space, because that's not the time and place for it. Any workplace environment really ain't the time and place to be all in your feelings. You know, that's the opposition from Cancer to Capricorn. You know, but when it comes to your actual life, when you clock out and you go home, a lot of people don't know how to switch that off, because we're not taught that. You know, even, you know, we're not taught that in school. We're not taught. These are spaces that you don't, there's nobody telling you or explaining to you what's actually going on, these processes going on within yourself that you need to be aware of on a subconscious level. So it's like you come home and your family don't even know who you are, because you're still in ego mode. And then you just go into your solo space and you regenerate, because that's what we all got to do. But you miss out on those opportunities to actually connect and be understood. You know what I'm saying? But knowing how to shut that off, when you go home, you got to get back into that vulnerable space. You got to be able to have heart-to-hearts with those in your family. And see, the thing is, we grow up with parents that may not have known better, and everybody's an individual. Everybody be going through their own shit. So there's times in which they express themselves in ways they acting in their ego, and it makes you want to double down on protecting yourself when these supposed to be the people you could be the most vulnerable with. You know what I'm saying? And that goes into just, again, how society has been structured, and some of the issues and things that create more trauma, that make it more difficult for the world to be a better place, because everybody is kind of moving in that same way, dealing with this trauma, not knowing how to you know, not really, it's not like, because we all know, but it's one thing to know what to do, it's another thing to actually have the will to do it and to carry it out. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rob. Sunshine said it'd be hard for real when you're around people you can't be vulnerable with. Exactly. Shout out to Pincito J. I probably said that wrong, but for the most part, you know, real shit. Because, and see, that's the thing, we make life hard a lot of times being around so many people that we can't be vulnerable with. And it's not that we can't, we just choose not to, because it's hard to do. You know what I'm saying? It's not the easiest thing to do, to open your heart and to have those connections and those conversations that make you feel extremely sensitive. And see, these things, when we hold these things on, we build up this resentment energy too. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you said you're right, gang. All right, cool. Yeah, shout out to you, bro. Welcome in. First time I'm seeing you on the live. But we make life hard for ourselves, you know. And this is a lot of energy that Scorpio, I think honestly all water signs deal with this, because Scorpios deal with this on a, you know, a grudge level. Cancers will openly bitch and complain about what the fuck they feel unfair, you know what I'm saying, what they feel sensitive of. But the problem with Cancers, they're so close to Leo, a lot of times they have an ego about their vulnerability. So that's where Cancers get things fucked up, and why they create situations with other individuals, that because they'll be like, they'll make it your responsibility to care for their ego. So instead of being vulnerable, they're opening their heart about you and trying to manipulate you to care about their ego. It's not even what they really connected on, and they'll really turn their back on you and do some cold shit. You know what I'm saying? The Cancers, man. But I fuck with y'all, you know, because y'all represent a certain space where when y'all are operating out of your higher octave energies, y'all come through for people, and y'all provide for people in ways that, you know, y'all do a lot of the unseen work that the world couldn't even operate without y'all. Again, nurturing, like moms, you know what I'm saying, mothers and shit like that. Y'all, it's like that same type of energy. Even if you came here in a masculine body, you care about things in a way that other people in your life, if they don't say that they appreciate it, I'm sure they do. You know what I'm saying? You said my mama Cancer. Yeah, real shit. You know what I'm saying? Cancers they'll flip on you real quick when they feelings hurt, but they do it because that's their form of protecting. Their ego is the moon. So it looks like that on an extreme level, you know what I'm saying? And the moon could be very self-indulgent because it has to be. It could be very self-centered because it has to be, in a way. You know, nobody really protecting the moon. The moon is a ball of vulnerability. So, you know, the Cancers in your life, you got to take care of them for them to take care of you, essentially. Now, when it comes to the other water signs like a Scorpio, y'all more in the Mars end, but y'all set yourselves up the same way. Y'all don't want to be vulnerable, and y'all look at vulnerability almost as fighting words. So as soon as anybody being vulnerable, y'all want to go to war with that shit, and y'all got to chill out, because y'all don't realize when y'all really need it and y'all need the help, that's where the vulnerability mattered. You know what I'm saying? That's where people could actually step in and be prove you wrong, basically, because y'all can get in such a fixated view of people not fucking with you, people always having an ulterior motive, that you start to develop ulterior motives, and then you sabotage yourself. You start to sting the people who supposed to be the closest to you, and now nobody want to fuck with you, and you in a dark hole saying, man, fuck everybody, I'm gonna just do this shit alone. And that's not even what you really want. That's not even what you really need. You did that on accident. See, this could happen with the moon currently in Scorpio. We can start to develop a mentality that is in that kind of way, which at the moment we're shifting into Cancer. So you're going to start to take those reactions from maybe over explaining yourself or not feeling like what you're explaining or communicating is being reciprocated, but still. And again, we're lessening on the Gemini energy. So you're going to think that the answer to that is to not communicate, to be further into yourself, to further hold in and lock in on a grudge. And then that shift from Gemini into Cancer is going to turn into you starting to put care energy into that grudge that started in Gemini. I mean, that started with the moon right now in Scorpio. So you're going to start to care about that grudge more than you care about being honest and truthful. And that's going to turn into you planting bad seeds on the start of the energy. And we starting this energy off during a full moon. So that's going to be a full moon in Capricorn, where you're probably going to choose to double down on trying to be hard and trying to be, you know, that Capricorn energy, trying to be all business, trying to look at certain situations in which you're trying to now take your heart out of it to protect your heart, when we really need to be doing the opposite energy. If you were satisfied during this full moon, right? Because full moons is all about our ability to be satisfied and whether or not we can take that energy and not go to the extremes based upon all the emotions going on. What we're supposed to be doing, if you're satisfied in that Capricorn energy, right, you're going to have enough, not only respect created from individuals that you chose to communicate and open your heart to. See, people don't realize that actually garners respect too. When you're able to be vulnerable, people respect you a lot more in ways that you don't even realize, because they start to see your heart. It's true. You know what I'm saying? They like, damn, this person really being honest, this person really opening up. People start to respect that in ways you might not see, because when you're just in your feelings, you don't see how you might start to feel weak about certain things that you feel, and start to feel weak about opening your mouth about how you feel about things and stuff like that, weird energies. But what you realize is when you do, even if people in that instant kind of shrug you off and make you feel even worse about maybe those insecurities, what you don't realize is that they respect you more. And the more that they try to resist that energy, it's really them just lying to themselves, because they know they not brave enough to speak their heart. And that they, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times people be trying to make you feel bad about things that they not even strong enough to do. It take a lot to open your heart and speak what's really on there, and to stand in your vulnerability and be like, no, this is truly how I feel. And see, one thing about feelings and emotions, they get trapped inside of us. When we communicate them, though, we are able to release them into the world. And again, another person might not want to receive what you're given as a feeling, but the universe does. It's not about what somebody else thinks about how you feel. It's about you putting that energy out regardless, because they might not catch it, but the universe catch it. And so by acting in your nature, speaking your heart, things work in miraculous ways beyond what you can see on the surface. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what it's all about. Not so much the individual you're expressing your heart to. It's about the fact that you chose to express it anyway, regardless. that's the shit that God can look at and work through to make magic happen. So this will manifest into situations where, let's say you opening your heart to your partner and you start to see that they not receiving your vulnerability in the way that they should, right? You'll start to be like, damn, I don't even, it's like things will manifest where this individual will get removed for your life, and you'll start to connect with those who you're supposed to connect with on a heart-to-heart level. And it's almost like before you even know it, things will shift in a way that's like, damn, you won't even realize that you manifested things that was better suited for you because of your heart being open, and because of you still putting it out into the world, even if that conversation you had with that specific individual wasn't, you didn't get the reaction you wanted, and they didn't give you that comfortable feeling, but you chose to be uncomfortable for the sake of getting more comfortable. And by you just vocalizing that and putting that out, boom, you manifested a better situation for yourself. You said being heartful also attracts the most shit. Exactly. That's the whole point of manifesting. You manifesting regardless, but when you manifest things based upon a closed heart, you manifest a lot more bullshit and things that don't actually look valuable to you, things you don't really care about. You know what I'm saying? You say, yes, sir, but you learn a lot. Better to carry yourself in a healthy manner and let people show who they are. Exactly. You learn so much, and that's how you, again, you said it right there, real magic. That's how you really move in the world in a way that you know what I'm saying, you able to prosper, you're able to actually, you know, get where you're trying to go. So that's one thing that that matters. You know what I'm saying? That's what actually matters. You know what I'm saying? When you can actually put things into the world and into practice, that you're doing things from your heart actually. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you don't have to know all the details of things if you move out of your heart, out of your truth, because that's really God's problem to deal with. You know, knowing what's going to happen next and knowing how things are going to pan out and stuff like that. Your brain can't comprehend that. It can't compute that. So to use your mind for shit like that is pointless. You just going to drive yourself crazy. That's literally not what the mind is for. You know what I'm saying? And that a lot of the world, everybody wants to know what's going to happen next. You know what I'm saying? Because that makes you comfortable. But that's the kind of the irony of comfort and stuff like that. It's like, you know, and kind of where even faith comes in. Because remember, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, and that's why. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it falls in Capricorn, because Capricorn being so grounded into reality, it needs to know what building block to use for this and what to put here. It feels like it needs the blueprint. And Jupiter needs more faith. Jupiter requires more faith, because when you talk about how things are going to actually pan out for you, you don't know that. You can't know that until you actually go through the experience. You feel me? So that's like Venus, you know, that was a long tangent, but Venus going into Cancer, we have to choose, we have to decide on what's worth caring about. And then Mercury in Cancer is going to have all our minds about what we care about. So again, communication we have to communicate about how we truly feel. We have to communicate about what's on our heart and what we care about. And we have to leave space to analyze what we care about and decide for ourselves whether or not that's actually appropriate or not. Because you might be caring about a bunch of things that you don't need to be caring about. You caring about how people gonna think about you. You caring about how something's gonna come across. That might not be what you need to care about at the moment. So to use your mind for that, and like even shit I was just saying, using your mind for stuff you probably don't even need to be using your mind to care about. So we have to be mindful of that. But communication in general, and see, one thing about this is, see, y'all watching now, right? Y'all probably in a space where y'all are more aware of what's going on subconsciously. So y'all probably have a little bit better and like a better perspective on what to be sensitive about and what not to be sensitive about. But you got to keep in mind, during the season, the world is going to be highly sensitive. The world is going to be highly reactive. So people in your life might take offense to things and take certain things personal, that, you know, or take certain things to heart. So, you know, you kind of got to be still mindful about how you're going about communicating certain things, especially if you have issues with other individuals. Being mindful, just because, again, the point is that the message is given, and you don't always have to be so, you know, again, not everybody's a water sign, so you don't have to be tactful all the time about how you getting your thoughts across. But the point is, just keep in mind that people's reactions from what you say are going to be based upon their sensitivity level. So if you're not aware of how sensitive they really are, just know that your message might not come across clear enough if you're not being tactful or considerate about somebody else's emotional state. You know, again, you might be an Aries, you might not give a fuck. I get it, but for the sake of being effective, an effective communicator, because that's the thing. People say communication is key, but the question is whether or not you're an effective communicator, because we all talk shit. We all say what we all use communication, some more than others, but are you effective in your communication? Because there's even more ways to communicate than just through words, body language, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, you might be saying, oh yeah, I'll for sure do that. And then your body language right after that is like, man, fuck that. Are you an effective communicator or not? You really got to ask yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people just be talking, but are you effective in your ability to, and the purpose of communication is to convey your idea and message and get it across. So if you find yourself in situations where people don't understand you, that's maybe something you need to go within yourself and say, well, how am I as a communicator? What are my tactics of communication, and how can I be a more effective communicator? Because what I'm trying to do simply ain't working. You feel me? And that kind of brings me into the last thing, because he said Blazing Mellow. Shout out to Blazing Mellow. Oh damn, he took he probably spelled something wrong. I saw a little bit of what you said, but yeah, real shit. He said, I think he said, yeah, he said motherfuckers talk but aren't saying anything. Exactly. Motherfuckers talk all day but aren't actually getting to the point, aren't actually, you know, really conveying what's in their mind to others and stuff like that. And that's that mind game. Sometimes Geminis be doing that. They be saying something and they don't even think that way, but they trying to debate you on something. They growing up, bro, like when I was to school especially, I always had Gemini friends around me. Yeah, I would always get annoyed because it was like, man, you talking about, you debating me on something you don't even care about. And that shit would piss me off as a Pisces, because I'll be like, bro, I'm starting to feel some kind of way now. I'm starting to care about the topic. And you like, yeah, I don't even care to begin with. He said moon in the 6th house kicking in. Yeah, shit. Right, you like, oh yeah, I gotta fix that spelling error. Real shit. But yeah, so that's real life shit. You know what I'm saying? You said, yes sir, that's me, gang. We learned though. Yeah, man, we learned. I fucks with Geminis heavy though, because the conversation is always good. But shit, man. But yeah, and going to my water sign thing too, to finish it out with Pisces, they issue with vulnerability becomes, you know, the Pisces thing is all about being understood. But that 12th house energy will keep you in a world where, based upon your perspective, you don't have a clear you don't have a clear enough ability to see the reality of what you're doing to create misunderstanding. So y'all, you know what I'm saying, that's that delusion shit. Y'all be in your own world based upon your perception. You kind of, you put yourself in your own world, and it makes it harder for people to connect with you. But now you somewhere complaining about nobody understanding you, and you got to give your heart to the collective, because, you know, say, but you neglect your own close people in your vicinity based upon you not understanding that. It's your perspective that's the issue, that not necessarily what is going on with everybody else. It's you looking at the world a certain way that's isolating. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, now here's the thing though. You said, as a Gemini, Jackie said, as a Gemini, I used to do that, find more info and to practice my communication skills and my random theories, and not really caring about the issue for real. And you know what though? That is not actually a bad way to go about life. You know what I'm saying? It rubbed my Pisces ass the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And you say, I still do that. Yeah, real shit, because that is a good practice. And more people, and that's kind of what I learned from Geminis, is not to care so much about what's being said. And that helped me communicate better, because it helped me take myself out of my feelings and actually use the air element. You know what I'm saying? You said Alicia Alicia Dawn, you said, hello everybody. What up, what up, what up? Real shit. So yeah, but getting back into these transits, because I gotta go low key. When it comes to the moon, we got this low-key grand water trine going on. Moon in Scorpio, trine in Mercury. I said Mercury. What the fuck? Hey, that's a new energy right there, Mercury. But Venus and Mercury in Cancer, and then uh Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. So this is a grand trine, which is a gift between the moon, how we feel, what we love and appreciate and value, what we're willing to communicate and think and consider in our mind, and what we're trying to do on a realistic sense, and what we're trying to build in reality. Also our dreams, imaginations, and possible delusions. So right here, right, we have this real powerful gift. Like, that's why I said it's thought-provoking, an emotion, I think a thought-provoking emotional shift. So right now you have a choice to make. Again, everything comes down to you making a choice moving into this Cancer season of what you're going to invest your heart into, what you're going to choose to care about in order to sprout and basically nurture as a seed to be grown and fruitful by the time Virgo season comes around. So right here, right now, there's a lot of things that you have the opportunity to be aware of on an emotional level that you can choose to transform and adjust in order for you to actually be on the path to build that dream situation or scenario that you desire, right? If you're still dealing with certain emotional grudges though, you're still distracted and you haven't been paying attention to the right things and having conversations about the right things, you might find yourself still distracted and still clinging on to certain outdated emotional states that make it harder for you to actually move forward. For instance, right, moon trining Saturn, and Saturn trining Venus and Mercury, right? That Saturn energy could either play out as you building yourself up, aka taking the initiative of this emotional shift and saying, okay, I'm gonna start restricting myself from going down certain emotional pathways to care about things that don't actually benefit me in my development, in my situation. Or you can get caught up in feeling restricted on expressing how you feel. You know, that Saturn energy it can play out as a restriction, but you either using that restriction to restrict yourself from the negative stuff so that you can do more positive things, or it's a restriction against the stuff you're supposed to be doing. So to protect yourself and to, you know, say you still holding on to an emotional grudge, you'll start to restrict yourself on things that look like you changing your heart and making your heart more accessible. It's going to be you trying to close yourself up more based upon your delusion, what you think everybody else feel about you, and what you think is not going in your favor, and what you doubt in yourself, and all this self-criticism, all these because also we have Venus, no, not Venus, we have Lilith in Virgo. So that's anxiety around, or Lilith in Virgo, kind of going between Virgo and Libra. So there's a deep kind of like fear when it comes to reality and the ability for things to work, and also our we feel embarrassed about communicating, about relating ourselves. And see, the thing about being embarrassed to relate, or Lilith in Libra, is you might create more imbalance in your life by not relating to yourself properly. It's almost like you start to convince yourself that you maybe don't deserve certain things. You convince yourself not to have certain conversations. You start to relate to yourself. It's like, you got to think about it. Any relationship based in fear is going to start to grow negative energies. So even in your actual life, when you trying to relate, and that's my whole point, even with vulnerability, you might be afraid to be vulnerable. What's going to happen to your relationship is the connection is going to start to deteriorate. Y'all not going to feel as close to each other because it creates distance the more fear is involved. So think about that in relation to yourself. If you start to fear certain things that make it difficult for you to relate to yourself, you're going to be more distant to your true self, to your true heart, to what you stand for and what you actually want to put out into the world. You're going to make it more difficult for yourself. So you're going to choose to do different things, participate in certain actions, entertain certain thoughts and feelings that create more doubt, create more imbalance in your life, basically, and throw your life off in that kind of way. So that's kind of like this energy and how it's going to kind of grow in ways that you might not want it to grow. You know, with the Saturn and Pisces energy, you know, we can do great things. We can make great strides in terms of how we situate ourselves and how we position ourselves in this life, right? But if we don't actually consider, um, if we don't consider what's going on a subconscious level, if we don't actually put into practice, like if we still clinging on to certain emotional states and still have doubts about things and allow our insecurities to take over our path, then we're gonna put ourselves in a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like the moon being in Scorpio in conjunction the North Node too. So the moon is Scorpio, and see what I was even talking about, our path, our spiritual path. Lilith is being in Libra is next to the South Node, opposite the North Node. So again, this is a direct effect on our spiritual path, creating imbalance in ways that make it more difficult for us to actually do what we're supposed to be doing here spiritually. Now, when it comes to, like I was saying, the moon in conjunct the North Node, misunderstanding how to feel about what transformations need to take place in order for us to move on our spiritual path. So we still might be unsure about what it is it's going to take to transform. But it's not about knowing. It's like we just have to be willing to make the changes. And on an emotional level, you should already have ideas based upon your curiosity in Gemini as to what needs to actually transform. You know what I'm saying? It just takes that extra step to actually put it into practice. And we have to make sure we actually, you know, moving in on that. Now, when it comes to the moon in Scorpio, talked about the trine. So this, at the end of the day, this is a gift, but you just have to understand, because see, the moon in Scorpio, it falls there. So you might not want to transform your emotional state. You might not want to let go of certain emotions, and that's what's going to fuck you up at the moment. You got to be willing to do that. You got to realize, like, no, the moon is just in Scorpio. I got to put that into that transformation into practice and let go of what's keeping me clinged on to certain stuff, you know. And then this effect on Gemini, we just got to be mindful about what's coming out our mouth, because again, not everybody need to know everything that's going on deep behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? So don't set yourself to get backstabbed or set yourself to get exposed. You know, you want to make sure you speaking from your heart so that there is nothing to expose. If someone to expose something, you be like, yeah, so what? You know, that's how you really walking in that energy effectively, is when there's not really nothing to expose. You being truthful, you being yourself. And if people find out some information, you could look at it like, so what? Why are you so invested in me? You should really learn more about yourself. You know, I'm just comfortable with me, and this is what I'm into. It is what it is. That's how you take power and control over that. Now, the moon is Scorpio. Let's see what else. Yeah, trine. I talked about Saturn. You know what I'm saying? So the ability, the gift to feel more comfortable about what we're building, and also our ability to restrict ourselves from certain things. Again, there's certain places we don't need to go emotionally anymore in order for us to move forward in life. You know what I'm saying? And again, a lot of that might still need a conversation right now due to the fact that Gemini is, you know, we still 27, 28 degrees Gemini. So it's like, you know, hey, still might have to have that conversation. And even into Cancer season, we still need to be communicating, because the sun is still going to be next to Cancer. It's like Mercury still be in a place, so communication is still needed throughout. It's just how we go about that communication. So right now we need to have more heart-to-heart communication and be willing to be honest and vulnerable with what it is that we really trying to convey as an idea. You know, again, that's why gossip energies and any deceitful hiding energies, lying ass energies are gonna kind of be subject to be exposed as energies develop. You know what I'm saying? Because people are gonna start to not feel like what you saying is genuine. People are gonna start to pick up on that, and then during Leo season, probably things will be hitting the fan in a way that, oh, we can see where what you was saying didn't line up to your actions, because everything now is on the forefront. Shout out to the one. Yes, sir. Salute to you too. Real shit. What am I missing? Aries. Talked about Aries. We talked about, oh yeah, moon in conjunct Chiron. So misunderstanding what to heal from emotionally in order to not make the same mistake again. You know what I'm saying? But they both share Mars, so you just got to kind of pay attention to, you know, what's creating that frustration to begin with. Where's Mars at? Shit. Mars is in Mars ain't in Cancer. No, Mars is in Taurus. So moon opposite Mars, feeling opposite to our passions, motivations right now. Try not to get discouraged. Try not to feel as though, you know, your passions aren't worth anything. You know what I'm saying? Your passions are taking time right now. Your passions are actually in a very powerful position to make progress, because again, this is going to sextile that Cancer energy. So Mars sextiling Venus and Mercury is the opportunity for that patience and that hard work and that concentration, that dedication, that consistency, to also have the opportunity to be nurtured, to put care into it. So you're going to start to think in a caring way about what you're passionate about in order for it to develop further. It's like watering a seed, literally. So take your passions very seriously right now and concentrate on them. Focus on that shit. Stay grounded with it too. Don't try to do it too fast. Take as much time as possible so that the idea can develop fully. Mercury and Venus is going to be there. So we have to value the patience of what it is that we're nurturing. We have to value the steps and the process of what we're trying to cultivate in our life. The more you do that, the easier it'll be to deal with what feels like, oh, this process is too slow, or ah, man, I just want to get to the end of this. You just got to appreciate the slow grind at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Turtle Island, Nebulous and them. So yeah, so that's what's going on that end. So we have to kind of appreciate that. But the moon opposite at the moment, we just might feel uncomfortable about passions in general, like whether or not our passions have the ability to succeed. You know, we might feel too surface level with our passions, like they don't actually hold any real weight. They won't connect and hit the hearts of others. We don't have to worry about that right now. We have all the energies in the sky that's given more life to that if we just chill out and recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Allow the time to pass, and not just pass, but use the time to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? If I show up for this shit every day, it has to return an investment towards me. That's just how it works. Yeah, moon opposite Uranus, so feeling opposite to uniqueness and rebellion. So, you know, we might feel disconnected with our uniqueness at the moment, but don't worry too much about that. That's not really the emphasis right now. You know what I'm saying? And we probably don't need to do too much rebelling at the moment. Right now, we kind of need to be more observant and kind of understand the emotional vibe of what's going on. So we need to be present in that sense. Yeah, that's Uranus. That's about everything, I think, unless I'm missing something. I don't think I'm missing anything though, but I do got to take my ass to work. So anyway, I appreciate all y'all sliding through. Thank y'all for tuning in. You know, it's the type of energy that, you know, we can work with. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna get emotional, but at the same time, you know, that emotional, you don't got to be scared of the emotional energies. You can use them to your advantage to make life more comfortable for you. You just got to go through a little uncomfortability and kind of go through that little process. So don't forget that the 717 conference is going down in Atlanta, July 13th. You know what I'm saying? We sending an update email for everybody who already bought tickets and signed up for the volunteer form. I'm putting both links in the bio, so make sure y'all slide through. You know what I'm saying? We got some good things for y'all, and yeah, I think it's gonna be real fun. You know what I'm saying? It's the second annual one. We very excited to do it. You know what I'm saying? Can't wait to see all y'all again and connect, continue to build as a community. Like I said, we're gonna have public speakers, performers. It's gonna be a real lit vibe. You know what I'm saying? So come through, connect with us, and yeah, much love. I'll catch you on the next one.